Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most fascinating turnarounds in the history of sports franchises, the Mumbai Indians. Back in 2008, when Mukesh Ambani bought the team, the expectation wasn't just to build a squad, it was to build an absolute empire. They had the money, they had the glamour, and they had a lineup that looked completely unbeatable on paper. But as we all know in the world of business and sports, things on paper don't always translate to reality. So we're going to unpack the exact strategies that took this team from rock bottom to becoming the most successful franchise in the Indian Premier League. And more importantly, we'll see how you can apply these exact blueprints directly to your own company.
Now look at this dramatic contrast right here. For their first 5 years, Mumbai Indians had the absolute best players and coaches in the world. They threw money at the problem like it was water. And the result? 0 trophies. Nothing. But then, in the following 8 seasons, they secured 5 titles. It's an astonishing success rate. To understand how they flipped that switch, we really have to look at just how bad things were at the beginning and why simply buying the top talent in the market completely failed them.
Back in 2008, they didn't just form a team, they built a highly glamorous World 11. We're talking Sachin Tendulkar, Sanat Jayasuriya, Sean Pollock, and the Yorker King himself, Lassit Malinga. Add the Bollywood glamour of Hrithik Roshan, and they were literally a national sensation. But reality hit hard. First, injuries sidelined key stars. Then came the ultimate blow to team morale, a massive on-field slapping controversy that resulted in a ban for Harbhajan Singh. 5 years of massive spending, trying every single formula, buying every expensive superstar available, and they were still sitting there empty-handed. They desperately needed a radical shift.
Which brings us to number 1. 2013, the turning point, a change in guard and philosophy.
The franchise finally realized they couldn't build a sustainable empire solely on the backs of established, highly paid superstars. When the legendary Ricky Ponting stepped down as captain to make way for a young Rohit Sharma, it signaled a massive shift in strategy. Ponting was a 3-time World Cup winner, one of the most successful captains globally. Everyone thought he was the magic bullet, but after 6 matches, the team was failing again. In a brilliant display of leadership, Ponting realized he just wasn't the right fit for the moment, stepped aside, and handed the reins to Rohit Sharma. Rohit actually noted later that the moment he stepped onto the field as captain, all the nervousness just vanished. This transition was the absolute catalyst for everything that followed.
And this led to them pivoting to what we call a talent factory model. Instead of looking at the market and asking, hey, who's the most expensive, famous player we can buy to solve our problems, they flipped the script. They started asking, where's the raw, undervalued talent that literally no one else is looking at? This is such a massive lesson for any business. Relying solely on poaching top-tier, highly expensive talent from your competitors is rarely a sustainable long-term strategy. You've got to build a system that creates stars rather than just buying them.
That leads perfectly into part 2, the Master Scouting Playbook, looking past the scorecard.
Okay, just look at this number. 10 lakhs. Every successful business needs a visionary who can spot raw, unpolished potential in a crowded room, right? While other franchisees obsessed over top run scorers in major national tournaments, coach John Wright and former player Kiran More ventured into Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities to these dusty local grounds. And that is exactly how they found a skinny kid from Baroda named Hardik Pandya for a mere base price of 10 lakhs. This is a player whose market value would later skyrocket to 18 crores. When Hardik's name came up in the auction, literally no one else bid for him. The rest of the league just saw a nobody. But Mumbai Indians, they saw their future.
Superficially, Hardik was skinny, and some locals even mocked his apparent arrogance. But true scouts completely ignore the scorecard. Coach John Wright saw 2 incredibly rare traits: an insane natural bat speed that allowed him to hit massive shots despite his frame, and a completely fearless mindset. He played under high pressure as if it were just a casual net practice. Mumbai backed his attitude, not his resume.
To do this consistently, Mumbai Indians acted almost like an intelligence agency, deploying anonymous scouts to these Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities to observe players when they had no idea they were being judged. This is what they called shadow scouting. They knew for a fact that if famous faces like John Wright or Kiran More walked into a local stadium, the players would instantly change their behavior. They'd get nervous or they'd try way too hard, hiding their authentic selves. So Mumbai deployed completely unknown scouts to watch these local matches for months. And they weren't just watching the game play. They were watching how a player reacted when they got out, how they handled a bad umpire decision, and what their overall discipline was like off the pitch.
So how do we actually implement this in the business world? Well, first off, stop relying solely on CVs. You have to dig deeper. Just because someone didn't clear a specific entrance exam doesn't mean they lack world-class talent, right? It just means they didn't pass one test on one specific day. Do backdoor reference checks with vendors and juniors. Find out what the candidate is really like when the pressure is on and the boss isn't looking. Build a real scouting team, not just a traditional HR department, to find people with actual genuine hunger.
All right, moving on to number 3. Trial by fire, testing leaders under pressure.
So once you actually find this raw talent, how do you know they are really ready for the big stage? Enter Jasprit Bumrah. John Wright was sitting at a ground in Ahmedabad when he spotted this kid with a really weird action. And honestly, nobody took Bumrah seriously because his bowling style was just so unconventional. But Wright watched in absolute awe as this teenager delivered 12 perfect, consecutive Yorkers during the absolute most high-pressure phase of the game, the death overs. That level of execution is incredibly rare.
Now, conventional wisdom would tell you to protect a young, weird 19-year-old, right? Bring him along slowly. Well, Mumbai did the exact opposite. They debuted him immediately against the most terrifying batting duo in the world at the time, Virat Kohli and Chris Gayle. Mumbai fundamentally understands that true heroes are born in the fire. They don't protect their players, they test them. And in his very first match, under immense pressure, Bumrah absolutely delivered.
The business takeaway here is absolutely crucial for us. When someone walks into a job interview, remember, you are seeing their highly rehearsed, polished, absolute best version. But that's not the person who's going to be running your company during a crisis. True character reveals itself under stress. If you're making a senior hire, don't just talk to their former bosses. Go talk to the vendors they worked with. Talk to the juniors they managed. Shadowing and rigorous reference checks are literally the only way to protect your organization from a catastrophic senior hire.
This brings us to our 4th and final pillar, the data superpower. Analytics as a weapon.
Talent and testing are phenomenal, sure, but to build an unstoppable empire, Mumbai needed an intellectual edge. They needed to weaponize information. Driven by CKM Dhananjaya, they had been quietly collecting granular, hyper-specific data since 2003. Think about the sheer power of that for a second. While other teams were relying on gut feelings and recent form, Mumbai Indians had accumulated 10 solid years of behavioral and performance data, mapping the exact weaknesses of 400 to 500 players globally. They knew exactly where the chinks in the armor were.
Take this matchup, for example. A.B. de Villiers was arguably the most terrifying batsman in the league for the Royal Challengers Bangalore. But the data team discovered a highly specific weakness. His strike rate absolutely plummeted against left-arm orthodox spinners turning the ball away from him. So, what did Mumbai do? They bought an unknown all-rounder, Krunal Pandya, for 2 crores. And every single time de Villiers walked out, Rohit Sharma immediately brought Krunal into the attack. The result? Krunal got him out 4 times. A relatively inexpensive domestic player completely neutralized a multi-million-dollar international superstar. That is the power of data.
As an entrepreneur, or really any leader, you've got to utilize data strategically like this. It shouldn't just be some PDF report collecting dust in your inbox at the end of the month. It needs to be an active weapon. Embed analytics directly into your core strategy. Identify exactly where your competitors are geographically weak or what specific service they're lacking, and then deploy your company's targeted superpowers directly at that vulnerability, just like Mumbai deployed Krunal Pandya.
The Mumbai Indians didn't become the greatest by outspending everyone. They outscouted, outtested, and outanalyzed the competition. They looked where literally no one else was looking, and they trusted raw potential over a polished scorecard. So I want to leave you with this final thought for this explainer. Look at your own organization today. Are you just burning cash on polished resumes, or are you building a true talent factory that creates the superstars of tomorrow?